As I see it, boys and men have been propagandized into distrusting in what has been erroneously identified as the masculine stereotype, while at the same time accepting the stereotype that men are virtuous or virtue or morality challenged. So we accept the fact that just being a man means that you're challenged in the area of virtue and morality. Let me show you what I mean when I talk about double binds. The issue of double bind, the classic definition of a double bind is when an individual or group receives conflicting messages with one message negating the other, creating a dilemma. When a person is constantly given this kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't message when they're children, then the effects in the child later on can and have been said to cause schizophrenia in some people. The world that an American male, for instance, finds himself born into, especially since the 40s and 50s, sends this kind of mixed and confusing message when it comes to expectations and explanations. This has evolved out of the feminist movement and has been successfully propagandized in our politically correct culture to the point where we're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If we act like men, then we're called male chauvinists, and if we don't, the expectations of us acting like men are still there in our society, and they call us a coward. Now, when I'm talking about the feminist movement, I am not talking about equal pay for equal work. And though I'm going to be pushing against it, I do not mean to come across as if I'm against women or that women are inferior in any way. But there's another message that needs to push back against, I believe, a propaganda machine that's come out of the feminist movement toward almost a hyper-feminism that says women are better than men and in fact can do quite nicely without men. Which makes it very hard for men and boys to step up to the plate and develop themselves as manly men. It's produced in our culture anyway, a Peter Pan man, a man who's a perpetual adolescent who doesn't want to grow up, looking for women to be their mothers. Let me give you some examples of a double bind message. You ever heard this? All men want is sex, but they never seem to want to communicate. And even when they're willing to communicate, their attention wanders after the first half hour or so because they're probably thinking about dinner or sex. Perhaps it's because men are hardwired to want sex and women are hardwired to want communication. It's been said that the definition of a nymphomaniac is a woman as obsessed about sex as a man is. A student undergoing a word association test was asked why a snowstorm put him in mind of sex. He replied frankly, because everything does. Someone once said that an erection is like the theory of relativity. The more you think about it, the harder it gets. You might say it's a Viagravating. Women have said, and when we do give men sex, all they seem to care about is themselves and seem to be clueless about how to bring their women to orgasm. You know, the old joke, a chicken and an egg are lying in bed. The chicken is a representative of a man, and it's smoking a cigarette with a satisfied smile on its face. And the egg, representing the woman, is frowning and looking put out. The egg mutters to no one in particular, I guess we answered that question. Marketing firms send the mixed message that most men's penises are too small and they finish too quickly and they don't last long enough and their erections are not what they used to be and their ejaculations are weak. It's the butt of jokes in every sitcom, many commercials, and the whole virility marketing business today that Men are obsessed with their genitalia. George Burns once said, sex at the age of 90 is like trying to shoot pool with a rope. Bada bing. And yet men are made fun of for being overly anxious about their penis size, ejaculation, their performance in bed, and yet they're bombarded with advertisements, media, sitcoms, a whole bit, always pushing that message. Men have been accused of being prone toward always looking at other women, while their wives say that they're reluctant to be seen naked. And even if their wives don't let them see them naked and don't give them more sex, then maybe twice a month, it gives their husbands no good reason to look at other women who do show off their bodies. Yet it's almost common knowledge today that men are hardwired to be excited sexually by what they see. And everything around them is trying to attract them to do that. While their wives, who they should be able to see, don't want to be seen. Men don't understand that most women want to feel secure, which they don't feel when their men take needless risks. Yet, many wives complain when their husbands stop being spontaneous and become so predictable. See the double bind? Or, why are so many men so not in touch with their feelings? Why do the men who are in touch with their feelings seem to be judged by women as wimpy and weak? Double bind. We're supposed to be in touch with our feelings, but when we are, we're judged as being touchy-feely. Why are men so prone toward violence? Why can't they be both pacifists and proficient fighters, full of courage and righteous indignation? Why do men like to watch action movies with violent content or MMA? Why don't they prefer Hallmark movies? Another question out of the many women that I polled, and why can't more Christian men take the leadership role in spiritual matters without telling us women what to do? Why can't we take the role to lead in spiritual matters without telling them what to do? In other words, why can't men make more money, work harder, work longer, away from home or at home, read more, know more, be more, exercise more, have six-packs, be hung like a horse, and maintain erections in their 60s and 70s like the movie stars do, with an ejaculation stream that could knock over a Volkswagen, and be more sensitive yet be tougher, more touch with their feelings but not be wimpy, sleep less, not be so tired, be great conversationalists even before they fall asleep in bed, be empathetic listeners and psychotherapists to their wives and their daughters and female co-workers. And why can't they find time to do all these things and still be excellent fathers, another area they're failing in, and be more like Jesus, who was perfect? What do you think about that? This resonates with every guy that takes this course. And they don't see the double bind until it's pointed out to them. When talking to most men, this is what Peter Pan, the Peter Pan in them, hears. In private conversation, never publicly, this is what they'll say as they scratch their heads and try to make sense of their world and things like the double bind that they constantly hear. They'll say this, and I've written these down. Okay, so sex is to men what communication is to women. Why then is it wrong for a man to want a lot of sex, but okay for a woman to want a lot of communication? Or most men know that sex is not the answer, sex is the question. Yes is the answer. Why can't their wives understand this, especially in the morning? Andy Rooney once said, most men are confused as to why it remains a mystery to their wives that they wake up aroused in the morning. We can't help it. We just wake up and we want to make love to our wives. And the women are thinking, how can he want me the way I look in the morning? That's easy. It's because we can't see you. We have no blood anywhere near our optic nerves. Here's another question that men ask. Why is it wrong for men to pretend to be talkative and empathetic listeners before marriage, but then stop talking and shut down emotionally afterwards, but yet it's okay for women to pretend to be hornier than a three-pecker goat before marriage, but then clam up after marriage? P.J. O'Rourke wrote, there are a number of mechanical devices which increase sexual arousal, particularly in women. Chief among these is the Mercedes-Benz 380 SL convertible. Here's another one. Why is it okay to demand that if a man wants more sex from his wife, he needs to be better at initiating conversation and communication and relationship from her husband to be encouraged to initiate more sex and be more aggressive sexually? I'm sorry, let me read that. I butchered that. Why is it okay to demand that if a man wants more sex from his wife, he needs to be better at initiating conversation and being relational, but wrong for a woman who wants more communication and relationship from her husband to be encouraged to initiate more sex and be more aggressive sexually? Jay McGarney said, I think men talk to women so they can sleep with them, and women sleep with men so they can talk with them. Here's another statement. Isn't it a mixed message for a woman to say to her man that he needs to spend more time engaged in foreplay while at the same time claiming she's too tired for sex? And if she's too tired to begin with, why not just skip the foreplay and save time? Here's another one. Isn't it a mixed message to denounce men for not always being 100% truthful, and yet damn them when telling their wives the truth that, yes, honey, those pants do make your behind look so fat that Stevie Wonder could see it? Why are men considered violent for having weapons, but considered valiant when left with nothing but a hairbrush to protect their home and family? Why is it that the fact that men die younger than women point to their being biologically inferior to women, and the fact that women live longer than men point to their being biologically superior to them? Especially when the common denominator in the difference in the life expectancy of men and women is that women marry men and men marry women. In other words, why don't men get their due recognition for extending the life of their wives, and women get the credit that they deserve for shortening the lives of their husbands? And has anybody ever considered that a man's life expectancy seems to lessen exponentially after retirement when he's spending more time with his wife? It seems that what the factory and the business world in several world wars couldn't do, wives succeed in accomplishing in just 10 years after a man retires. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Let me conclude. How is it fair that men are supposed to be excellent in virtually every marketable area of life, while at the same time being taught by their culture that they're hopeless idiots, naturally stupid, brutish Cro-Magnons, physiologically inferior, intellectually banal, and boorish, sexually inept, uncoordinated and clumsy, relationally challenged, prone to zone, bumbling idiots, and inferior to women in every way? C.S. Lewis once wrote, "We make men without chests, and we expect them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor, and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. We castrate, and then bid the geldings be fruitful." Something to think about. You guys have a good day. Good to talk with you. More next week. Sláinte.